it is not tied to any particular church. But again, I think we will see, as I present my evidence, that it is indeed tied to the Christian church, to Christian religion. Another quote he said was, authority not from church but state. And again, I will show you that that is not the case. That is not the case. Authority not from the church but state. I will show you the truth of that, and that indeed it was the church, or shall we say that it was religion and the statesmen who endowed Thanksgiving Day to the United States of America. Now, quoting from the encyclopedia that Mr. Rittenbar used in his sermon, part of the quote is, though originally intended as a sincere expression and appreciation to God for the physical deliverances that he gave to the nation. I want to go back over that again, brethren, because that's the quote that's out of that encyclopedia that Mr. Rittenbar gave to you on his sermon. Though originally intended as a sincere expression of appreciation to God. There it is, brethren. Right out of the encyclopedia that he's quoting from, which completely nullifies his statement that it is not particularly religious. That it wasn't from a particular religious stand that this day was introduced to the United States. And yet the encyclopedia says, though originally intended as a sincere expression and appreciation to God. And I will show you further proof that that is absolutely correct. That it was originally intended to worship God on that day. And that it was a religious festival. And we'll see more proof of that as we go along. Quote from Mr. Rittenbar, these people, that is the founders of this day, Thanksgiving Day, these people were what we would consider the unconverted. Now, we would consider them unconverted. It's very interesting, this. Because those of you that have been around other religions and other people of other religions, especially the very devout ones and sincere in what they believe, it's very interesting because I know this from personal experience, from being around these people. The Seventh-day Adventists claim that they are the true church of God. They are God's last remnant. They even go far as to claim that they are the Laodicean era and church of God. They look upon everybody else basically as unconverted. The Jehovah's Witnesses look upon everybody else that is not in their organization basically as unconverted. Many other sects and religions look upon those that are not a part of them as the unconverted. So sometimes, you know, we in the Church of God loosely use this thing, and we're guilty of it ourselves, looking at all of those outside there who are not a part of the Church of God as being unconverted. So Mr. Rittenbar says that these people back then who founded Thanksgiving Day were what we would consider unconverted. But my question is, did Did they consider themselves unconverted? Did they think that they were not Christian? Did they think that they were some heathens? No way at all, brethren. Those of you that have studied the history of the United States and who have studied those people that came over from Britain and Europe, the Pilgrims, no way can you say that they would have said that they were unconverted. Most of them, the religious ones of those people, believed that they were fully converted. They believed that they were God's children, serving God. And we'll see as we go along here how religious they were. They certainly didn't think that they were unconverted. Mr. Rittenbar does acknowledge, quote, they did acknowledge, ... missed a few things out that he said there, not important. They did acknowledge, ... a creator God who intervened in the lives and history of nations. And that is indeed true. They certainly did. I submit to you, brethren, you want to get the history books out? Look up the history of these people that came over to found this United States. I submit to you they would consider themselves a lot more than those at Athens in Acts chapter 17, who ignorantly worshipped the unknown God. They would consider themselves a lot more than those in Acts 17. Those who established Thanksgiving Day were Christians. They were Bible readers, brethren. They were in the main religious people. They were church people who established churches and who went to church. They were church people first, then later they became, some of them, statesmen. The U.S., brethren, was first founded. It was first established by people, founded by people, first of all, by religious freedom seekers. Those were the people that came over to the United States, by and large, were people who were wanting to escape the tyranny and the persecution of Britain and of nations of Europe, and they wanted religious freedom. And they came to the United States so as they could have religious freedom. Many of those people were Puritans who came to the United States. They were Puritans from Britain. And if you want to look at the history of those Puritans, you will find that one of the things that they taught and practiced was that they did not keep Christmas. They had come to see that it was pagan, that it was not of God, and they did not practice it. They taught against it. They did not observe it. These were the Puritans that came to this country. And the Puritans, brethren, and these religious people came to this country in the latter decade or so of the 1500s. They came in the first and second decade of the 1600s. And they came for religious freedom and for a new life and a new world. That's when they came to the United States. Now, let me ask you the question. When did the United States become an independent nation? When did it break away from the rulership of England and the king? 1776, right? Do you realize, brethren, how long that was? From when the first Pilgrims came to the United States? Over 150 years. These people were here under the sovereignty of Britain and of the King of Britain. They had not yet broken away from the British rule until 1776. 150 years. Most of us just don't think about it. We forget about it. That those people originally that came here were not wanting to establish a new nation. They were not wanting to break away from the British throne. That's why that area in the United States is called New England. Because that's what they named it. And they were basically, up until 1776, they were loyalists. And they were faithful to the crown and the King of England. And they had not broken away and had no desire to break away for 150 years or more. It wasn't until certain things happened in the history of the United States that those predominant English settlers said that we have no choice, but we must declare our independence of England. 1776. They had been here for over 150 years already and had not declared independence until 1776. Many of us don't put that together, and we don't think about it very much. Those people were statesmen secondly. They became statesmen after they declared independence from England. Then they established another country. Then they became statesmen. But before that, they were nobles. They were whatever they were doing in their physical life, in their jobs. And by and large, brethren, they were religious people who then became statesmen when they declared independence from England. And then, becoming statesmen, they passed certain laws. But before they became statesmen, they were religious people, by and large, loyal to the throne of England. Many people at that time in 1776 did not agree with becoming independent from England and another nation. And many of those what history books now term loyalists migrated up into what is now known as Canada because they did not agree with becoming independent from England, and they would not fight against their brothers in war. And they moved from what is now known the United States and moved into what is now known as Canada. So not all of those people were in agreement with becoming independent from England. But those that did were religious people by and large, and then they became statesmen and passed certain laws.